Okay, so good morning everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Jesus Meirin, and I'm coming from the University of Vigo. So now, once the results from IO2 has just been shown, it's now time to move on to the results or to the outcomes stemming from IO3. IO3, which is entitled, as you can see on screen, the Skills Cards for New Professional Profiles, has been led by the University of Vigo, the institution where I came from. So the main aim of this IO is to define the skill cards for the new professional profiles that can be linked to easy-to-read content creation. So, sorry. In this case, we understand content creation as the creation from scratch, as the adaptation of already created content, or content that has already been created, and, if considered relevant, the validation of this content by end users. In order to reach that goal, getting into the nitty-gritty, two actions had to be made. On the one hand, the first task worked around the definition, or worked around defining whether a single profile or multiple profiles should be created for the easy-to-read expert. And once this decision was made, the second task had to do with identifying the skills and the competences linked to each professional, to each profile. So the output of this IO, as you can see there, is a collection of skills cards. One skills card for each of the professionals, professional profiles identified in relation to easy to read. Apart from that, a list of additional skills could be added to existing profiles. These skills cards will later be used to elaborate training materials. So, in spite of the skills cards being created from scratch, a revision of already created skills cards from other research projects on media accessibility was made at the very beginning. So on the one hand, we have ADLAB Pro, a project on audio description. On screen you see a list of skills, and this next slide includes how the skills were organized into different modules. You have, for example, introduction and transferable skills, screen, audio description, etc. On the other hand, we have LTA, a project on intralingual re-speaking. In this case, the skills were organized in different content blocks. So we have, for example, re-speaking skills, verbal typing skills, etc. Moreover, we have ILSA, which is a project focused on creating a course to train interlingual live subtitlers for access. We have, in this case, foundational components, which include contents regarding different knowledge areas, for example, media and live events, accessibility, pre-recorded subtitling, etc. Then we have core components, and finally applied components which refer to the contexts where these experts would work. And this is, I'm sorry, that's not truly accessible, but yeah. The thing is that on screen you have the format of the skills cards. You have modules. Within each module you have different unit numbers. You have different units, and each unit is linked to one learning outcome. Finally, when it comes to talk about EASIT, the format that was finally used or employed was that originated in the ACT project. You have the 5 units: understanding accessibility, venue, accessibility services, accessibility management for live events, and promoting accessibility. And if we take a deeper look into into one of the units, for example, understanding accessibility, you can see that you have different units. Unit 1 includes Unit 1, as well as the other units, include different elements, and within each element you can find different performance criteria. And in this case, when we talk about performance criteria, we are referring to learning outcomes. So, for example, performance criteria 1 and 2, he or she understands the basic concepts of inclusion and accessibility. She understands the requirements for an accessible event, etc. So now, finally, we decided to create 3 different professional profiles. So we have, from bottom to top, easy to read subtitler, easy to read audio describer, and easy to read audiovisual journalist. In order to create these professional profiles, it was decided that these experts should have previously acquired specialized competences in specific areas. So we have subtitling in the case of the easy to read subtitler, and the same for the rest. Audio description for the easy to read audio describer, and journalism in the case of the easy to read journalist. So if we now move on to the handouts you have, you'll see that I'm going to project the skills cards. So, oops. Why is not? You cannot see the skills cards on screen, but maybe you can take a look at. You have what you have on paper is what I have on the computer. So maybe you can take a look at it. Right. So. The handouts include the different skill cards for the new professional profiles. So on each page you have one skills card per page, one for the subtitler, one for the audio describer, and one for the audiovisual journalist. So regardless of the skills cards skills card you look at, you will see that all of them contain 4 different units. 3 units are common to all the specific profiles: Unit 1, Unit 2, and Unit 4. And then the third unit is specific to each specific profile. So if you take a look at page 1, you'll see that this is the skills card for the audio description expert. You have Unit 1, which deals with media accessibility. Then within media accessibility you have Element 1, which has to do with human diversity, including disability, and specific performance criteria. Element 2 has to do with what is accessibility, so general information in relation to accessibility. Element 3 is what is universal design. Element 4 is what is media accessibility, so information regarding media accessibility. And finally, Unit 1, Element 5, has to do with media accessibility services, with different services. This unit, as I said before, is common to all the specific profiles. Then if we move on to Unit 2, Unit 2 has to do with easy to understand. Element 1 is entitled Understanding Easy to Understand. What is easy to understand? Unit 2 has to do with legislation standards and guidelines. Unit 3 has to do with the different processes. within easy to understand. Element 4, has to do with the language of easy to understand. And finally, element 5 concerns visual presentation. Can you follow me more or less? Is it for you to follow me? Okay. Okay, that's nice. So now, instead of looking at the third unit, we are going to move on to the fourth unit, which is the other, which is common to all the profiles. So we have the profession. The profession includes one element which has to do with personal skills. Personal skills these experts should have, and interpersonal skills, for example, be able to work in groups, etc. So now, if we take a deeper look into Unit 3, which has to do with easy to understand and audio description in one case, but if you take a look at page 2, you'll see that it's easy to understand and subtitling, and the same for Unit 3 within the profile regarding the audiovisual journalist. So Unit 3 has to do with easy to understand and the specific profile. This unit includes 3 different elements. The first one has to do with the processes. For example, you can see there the learner knows how to create easy to understand. This has to do with what I mentioned at the very beginning. We said that content creation is understood as the creation of new content that is easy to understand, the adaptation of previously created content into easy to understand content, and even, if considered necessary, the validation of easy to understand content by the end users. So element 2 has to do with the linguistic aspects, those linguistic aspects that have to be borne in mind when creating, adapting, or validating easy to understand content. And finally, the third element has to do with technical aspects. I know that maybe, that might be too much information for you in a short period of time. The idea, IO3 is almost finished, so it ends in August. This is the actual version of the skills cards. So the idea is that if any of you has any feedback on the skills cards, on the version of the skills cards you have in Handouts, it would be nice for us to receive the feedback in order to implement it, if considered relevant, of course. So I know that maybe you don't have time to take a deeper look into the different skills cards, but anyway, please revise the skills cards, take your time, and if you have feedback or any idea regarding any of the information that is included in the skills card, just write an email to let me put the presentation again. Write an email to Pablo Romero, the coordinator of the EASIT project at the University of Vigo. Yeah, you have the email on screen. So if you have any idea in relation to the skills cards, Pablo and the rest of the team will be very happy to receive feedback and to discuss with you the ideas that you might have in order to sort of polish the almost final version of the skills cards you have in Handouts. So that is all I have to say. If you have any question, we can discuss.
Skill cards online?
Sorry?
Are they online?
I don't think so. They are not online now, no.
Maybe we can put them online.
Yeah?
By copying
Yeah.
them. We had the one for audio description. You see it on the corner up here, and we have the one for the journalist. Maybe the subtitling is missing in some cases, so if you wish,
really?
we can put them online. I think that's a good suggestion, and everybody can download them. That would be really good. And a bigger text, yeah. Easier to read.
Yeah, I try to be eco-friendly, and I did my best to include one skills card per page, so one professional profile per page, but that means that the size of is not so good, so it's difficult to read. But yeah, we will upload the skills card for you to access them and to have a greater look at them.
Okay, thank you.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.